You're listening to Brilliance on the Spectrum with your host, Robin Williams.
Welcome, my friends. We have our wonderful Ayla Fox and Isaac C. Singleton Jr., who are some phenomenal advocate and supporters of the autism demographic. I happen to be on the spectrum. I met them and asked them to support my charity, and they absolutely did. And I'll let them introduce themselves. So you guys, let us know who you are and kind of what you got going on right now, and then we'll get into our very past relationship. Go ahead, A.
Who I am, my name is Ayla Jewel Thurman. I go by Ayla Fox. I live in Los Angeles, California. I've been doing acting and singing and dancing most of my life. It's a great passion of mine. And I have a cousin with Down syndrome, which first interested me in those with diverse needs and abilities, and just saw what a love and light he was. And yeah, when I met Robin, it just seemed like destiny.
Oh, that's awesome. So Ayla, what have you got going on these days?
In terms of,
Do you have any new future projects, or, I know that everybody's kind of like, a lot of us in my world have kind of calmed down from Comic-Con days and stuff, but I know that you still get your foot wet.
yeah, I definitely took a little bit of a break getting married last year, took a lot of energy planning the wedding and everything. This year has been very work focused. I do body work and massage therapy. I guess one of my latest cosplay projects was a friend of mine went to the Labyrinth of Jareth ball. I dressed up as Queen of the Fireys, and that was a really fun event. We just went as participants. Haven't done a ton of charity cosplay in the last couple months, but always enjoy getting out there when the opportunity arises.
So we met through my son when he told me that you were someone that did Burning Man and that you were interested in costume play and that you'd be a perfect fit. And you said, yeah, I'm interested. It'd be nice to see how that part of the world works. And you dedicated and donated a lot of time and energy into this very all over the place Asperger's, bipolar, manic depressive girl, and put your faith in me. And I'm always going to be so grateful. And we had an opportunity to do some advocacy performance on stage. Why don't you tell my audience a little bit about one of our most favorite, or your most favorite times when we toured?
So hard to choose, for there were so many wonderful events. Let's see.
I mean,
When we
Texas was
first met,
phenomenal.
I just really appreciated how much light and love that you projected onto the world. And I felt a kindred spirit and someone who really felt a desire to be of service to those who are in need of compassion, kindness, friendship, understanding. This world can be a bit cruel at times, and I just feel like there's no need for such cruelty, and that we all need to have a lot more tolerance and open-mindedness about difference. And I really saw you as a hero and an advocate for that. And it seemed like a very valuable way to spend my extra time and combine things I love, such as costume play and helping people feel good about themselves and feeling like they can be their own hero. Your message really spoke to me, that everyone can be their own hero. And growing up loving fantasy, that really spoke to me, and it seemed like a message that really needed to be spread to the world. So I was very fortunate to work with you and get to tour with you. We toured multiple states in the United States, as well as went to France and England.
Don't forget
Wow.
Texas tour. I mean, that was
So many magical adventures.
Right.
You know, in keeping things concise and brief, I would say that so many moments jump out to me, but the moments that most stand out are seeing the faces of the people that we visited, the joy that we brought, the understanding and camaraderie that they seemed to feel like they had someone to connect with, someone that understood them, someone that loved them exactly for who they were. And those moments, those smiles, those will live with me forever and are very cherished moments.
Oh, I love that you like have all of it as your favorite. I love it.
Yeah. And
Now,
though I will say some shining moments, I've always loved singing. And I would bring my little, I'm not that great, but I would bring my little ukulele and I would sing some songs, and seeing the people getting up and dancing and smiling and just being
you're so
appreciative
funny.
of the
You're being
music.
modest. You're being modest. You were fabulous. I mean, when we were in that tour in Texas and we were at that ARC Center, there was nearly what they say, there was over 175 adult special needs adults, our diverse able crew. And a lot of times they have people come into that room and perform for them and they clap and cheer or whatever. But you started to play Don't Worry, Be Happy. And they were getting out of their seats and they were dancing. And the people that couldn't physically get up had people holding their hand, chair dancing with them. So nearly 90% of the group was dancing. And when the people came in, the administrators, and said, we've never seen this before. That's the power of the fairies. That's the power of your beautiful voice and your magical playing. Now, I need to introduce this amazing man next to you, who has also been involved in a lot of our shenanigans. Isaac C. Singleton Jr., Deadpool, Pirates of the Caribbean, the list goes on and on. You have been in so many movies, but in the beginning, when you were so sweet to volunteer and be our spokesperson for ASDS, which is now no longer Autism Spectrum Disorder Supports, kind of, a lot of things ended with COVID, and that was one of them. And unfortunately, but you did so much good by dressing up like the Fairy King for our PSA and helping to spread the word and allowing people to come up and get pictures with you and sharing, your support for me and Ayla. Why don't you go ahead and give us a little bit of who you are and why you worked with me and A?
Well, my name is Isaac C. Singleton Jr. I'm an actor and a voiceover artist. And some people tell me I'm just an all-around good guy. I try to be.
Yes.
And I was at a comic book store, and you came up to me and asked me if I would join your organization. And I said, sure. That's pretty much how it all happened. I was just there at a comic book store seeing some friends, and you came over. You found out who I was and said, hey, would you please join me in my mission? And I said, sure. So that's what happened.
Oh, awesome. Well, tell us about one of the moments that you remember that sticks with you. There was quite a few over the years.
I think the moment I remember is you having them put makeup on me and put these swirls and stuff like that on my face to get me dressed up. That was kind of the moment I'm like, okay, I guess I'm in this now. So
I have such a beautiful picture of me standing over you, Isaac, and we're putting on the fairy ear. I actually still have the kit, your fairy ears, to be the Fairy King, and putting on that beautiful pastel pink shirt. And you just looked at me and we put on a purple robe and you looked at me again, but you were such a good sport and you're so professional and you really carried it off.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much.
And I'll always be grateful. And so when people ask me like, oh, so what's this all about, the cosplay? So I remember when we got an opportunity, Ayla and I got an opportunity. I can't remember if it was Nathan Seekerman, Captain Seekerman, or one of those guys that said, hey, you guys should be at Comic-Con. And I was like, I had no idea what it was. And I had done some studying and I hooked up with somebody that turned me on to a genre called steampunk. And I learned pretty early on at Ayla and I's first, I think it was actually WonderCon, our first one, wasn't it? WonderCon was our first one in Anaheim. And I was Fairy Queen and she was our steampunk fairy. And I learned right away that I could no longer dress like my G-rated fairy character at one of those events. It was kind of a trick. So I became the steampunk witch and I accompanied A on some of those trips. And then we created a comic book called Cog the Machine. And we started to portray the other characters and we roped in some friends. One of the guys, Christopher, played Hendrix Cogs, and Ayla and Hendrix, they were out there on the floor. They actually got to talk to Fox News and she was on nationwide television supporting and telling people about ASDS. And that was a pretty big moment. And so you, my sir, and your pirates and all your friends and all the different kinds of genres. Tell us a little bit about what Comic-Con means to people like, like me, because you get them coming up, autographs and pictures and.
Well, Comic-Con is just a gigantic party within itself for people who love all types of film and cosplay, and also film, TV, voiceovers, comic books. It's all the people who love that stuff since they were children, and even now got into it as adults. And it's just a great place to all meet together and collaborate and learn about upcoming projects and have a good time. It's really what it's all about.
Right. And you've sat on some panels.
I have talked on panels and stuff like that, but I'm
What's
just
one
kind
of
of.
what's one of the most famous questions that you get when you're on a panel? Is it just depend on the genre that you're representing, or?
Most of the questions are, how did I begin as an actor, or who was some of my favorite what were some of my favorite moments on different sets, different things like that, just stuff like that.
So if people ask you like, hey, Isaac, so you've done some volunteer work for charities and stuff, what would your advice be to other professionals about kind of giving back and giving time to charities like me?
I would say that if it's in their heart, to go ahead and do it, because, don't do it just because you want to have your name out there or be seen as somebody who's doing something for charity, but do it because it's really truly in your heart and you want to do it. I'd say that first of all, because you want to show up at these events with a good attitude and a happy attitude, and people want to be an approachable attitude, not like an attitude of like, oh, well, I'm here because my publicist said it's good for me to be here. That's just not a good way to do it. That's all I can say about that.
Be authentic.
Yeah, be your authentic self. And that's what, if you really want to support the cause, then support the cause.
Awesome. Well, hey,
Yeah.
Isaac, why don't you tell us what you're up to these days? Because it's been a while. I mean, COVID kind of separated everything and ended my charity, and I hadn't got a chance to catch up with you. So what have you got going on now?
Well, it's beyond. All I can say is right now I can just say I'm professionally doing voiceovers. I cannot talk about the ones I'm doing because I've signed NDAs, and there's other things going on in our industry right now that I just can't tout anything at all. So that's what I can say.
But you're
Yeah.
working.
Oh yeah, still working.
Oh, that's so good to
Coming
hear.
up
I
on
know.
Monday.
Great. That is awesome. I know that a lot of
Yeah.
people are struggling right now during the strikes and stuff. So I'm really
Yeah.
glad to hear that my friend is working. So, okay, now I want to bring up this one very particular moment. We were in, I think we were in, Ayla, do you remember our very last, it was Orange County, right? Orange County. Our last big event was when we went and did that book fair, right? At the college.
Mhm.
And I remember I was so frustrated because I found out during the event that we were never put on any of the programs. Do you remember that?
Yes, and I remember you just kind of jumped up on stage and did whatever.
Yeah, we were an afterthought. We were put on there because the county said, hey, you guys aren't representing people with autism. And so they kind of gave us a side little space. And I mean, we went all out. We had tents and we had dress up costumes, and we were doing, the cosplay on green screen and filming for people. And I couldn't figure out, how are we going to get these people to come over to our area? So I grabbed you and Ayla, and we did. And we grabbed all of our characters, because that's when we had Nathan Seekerman, which is the Star Wars steampunk universe endorsed by Lucasfilms. Amazing. Eric, he's amazing, by the way. And I wish he could be here too. So shout out to Nathan. and I told him what was going on, and he said, okay, let's get Isaac at the very front of this line. And we marched and paraded ourselves through the entire event, walked in front of their staging, and kind of came back. And we just blew up. Do you guys remember that? Like, people started coming to us and everything started happening. And I just want to say, you guys, and the way you can pivot and improv and just kind of go with the flow, for someone like me, who's so all over the place and is not as grounded as she should be, you guys are so grounding and calming. And you always knew the right thing to say to me. Isaac, you would just kind of give me a look, and sometimes you would just make a little joke so that it would like break the ice for me, my tension. And Ayla, you always knew what look, or you'd put your hand on my shoulder, or you'd tug my wing or something. And I would just kind of come right back down to earth. And so I just have to say, what you guys gave to me, the stability and the grounding, so that I could go out there and do what I did. I mean, obviously, it was much better when I got Arena to play the fairy and I wasn't in the costume. We realized that it's hard for me to stay in character. But you guys really brought a lot. And I know I'm getting all, but I know that if you guys didn't do that with me, I wouldn't have come as far as I went. We wouldn't have reached as many people as we reached. And although, you know, ASDS is no longer, the inspiration and the tenacity that it gave me to continue on in spite of everyone saying, you know, just go get a day job, Robin, you just need to make your bread and butter. And I would be like, you know, I have these friends that have given me this advice, and I think I'm not going to listen to anybody else's advice but your guys. So I just want to just really thank you for being so amazing and supporting my performance art, my advocacy art, and my charity, and all those people that we were able to reach. Now, we got a little bit of time left. So what I'd like you guys to do is just think a minute about something that we did that will always, you know, that maybe inspired you and to do something different, or to bring some of what you brought to me to other people. Is there anything that you guys took away from our experiences that you actually carry to your life now? Go ahead, A, first.
Definitely. What you were saying made me think of one of my favorite sayings, which is teamwork makes the dream work. And, you know, having such a strong and vivacious leader allowed us to be that supporting, I'll speak for myself, allowed me to be that supporting role for you. And it really taught me a lot of valuable skills about not only being a leader, but being in support of somebody else. You also asked what else I've been doing. And since I'm not a morning person, my mind blanked, but currently I'm portraying Mary Queen of Scots for the Royal Scottish Renaissance Guild.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
Northern California circuit. Thank you.
Congratulations.
And, thank you.
I forgot to mention your Renaissance work. That is incredible, by the way.
It's been a real experience. And, you know, a lot of people in the guild tell me you're so natural at this job. And I was like, well, you know, I actually had a lot of experience when first portraying your character, Fairy Queen Flutterby, and then transferring into our character, our steampunk fairy Lily Winger. It really taught me how to portray the traits that I want to see in the world in a position of leadership, as you did for us, which is kindness, caring, acceptance, you know. And not everyone's a leader, and that is totally fine. Having a strong leader to follow for those who are not leaders themselves was something really valuable that I learned, that one can both be that strong leader and be that example for others, yet be a real human as well, and be able to connect with them in a, not that I'm holier than thou, but that we are the same, and one just needs to cultivate whatever skills that they wish to emanate, and by being a strong leader to show those good examples. Something that really stood out to me and has really carried strong in the rest of my relationships and in my life, and people notice and comment. So I have you to thank for learning those skills of leadership. So
absolutely, I'm so pleased. Thank you, A. There's such kind words. I'm so pleased that you carry that. And I noticed you're wearing that awesome shirt from Wings of Change, which is great. We love Wings of Change. The butterfly habitat is Stephanie Holbrook. And yeah, and so one more question, A. So also, did you actually carry anything over into your relationship with your cousin after spending time with other people that were, you know, diverse abled by Kim?
Most definitely. I felt like we were able to connect on a whole new level, and some of the skills that I learned in connecting with you and others of the diverse able community on the wide spectrum of functionality versus a little more challenges, and just knowing that, you know, so many people in the diverse able community just come from a place of heart. And as someone who also comes from that place, I feel like it's easy for me to connect with similar people of that, those in the neurotypical or whatever world outside, sadly can get really involved in self-involved and greed and jealousy and all the things. And I've noticed like a true purity of heart in a lot of the diverse able community, and just being able to connect with them in a place where they feel safe and I feel safe, and we can both be our authentic selves without fear of judgment, is just a really beautiful thing. And my cousin loves when I sing him Disney songs on my
Oh,
ukulele. So
that
that was
is
really
so,
great.
and you have such a beautiful voice. It should not be wasted. So
Thank you.
Isaac, your turn. Go for it.
Well, like I said, I remember when you met me, the thing that interests me the most was the fact that you talked about how there's no programs for these people in this community after they turn 18. And that's what you were focusing on, the ones that are now adults, but still want to live a vivacious life, want to have relationships with, an opposite sex, or, and just enjoy themselves as human beings and earthlings, and get that whole experience as a human living on this planet, and having different programs that can help them out once they turn 18. Because once they were 18, there was nothing for them, and you were spotting a light on that, and I thought that was pretty neat. So that's why that was another reason why I got really interested in, also because meeting you, and then you just came up out of nowhere, and
I know,
that's exactly what
us
we wanted.
fairies, us fairies. Well, I
Yeah.
have to tell you, Relationships R Us got brought up recently by when I did an interview yesterday with Shannon Penrod of Autism Live, and she said, "Are you going to bring it back?" And Paul, my partner, and I kind of, a lot of things happened COVID, because that program, Relationships R Us, teaching people sex ed through cosplay, cannot happen online. You have to be in person. But what's really wonderful is I've had quite a journey since our journey. And I've learned now, as my show progresses and I get more sponsorship, one of my big goals, Isaac, is to bring back Relationships R Us in such a big way and franchise it. I've already had the plan written up professionally. The interns at Pepperdine were amazing. They helped my charity and Paul and I to put it into a book. So now we actually have a manual for Relationships R Us from soup to nuts. So we can take that out and we can promote that, and say someone shows interest, we can say, okay, here's your copy of how to implement this program from birth to success. And over the last, it's almost 20 years, we can honestly say nearly 15,000 people subscribed to that program, which is amazing. I didn't get to teach all those people myself, but we were able to implement other people to create it for them. Hence why we decided finally we needed the manual, and so that we could do this right and professionally. And I think that it is, there's a lot more out there now. We have self-determination. And while self-determination is still legal, people need to go and try and get that, which is where you can form your own team and create your own goals. And then you can get the money from the regional centers for those goals instead of what the regional center says they want you to spend it on. So that's really a wonderful thing. Judy Mark was responsible for that with Jerry Brown, which is amazing that passed. And so anybody out there that is struggling as an adult over 18, they may be self-diagnosed or what have you. There are some amazing foundations that are helping you, that are available, that are there with concrete resources that are viable. I know in the beginning for myself, when I reached out, I would get these great resources, and I'd call, and then the number's closed, or the website's old, or it's not updated. But it's changing. The scenery is changing for people like me. And there's a lot of corporations even are starting to implement the fact that we're brilliant. I was tested at 152 IQ. I was told I was too smart for my own good, that I wasn't a schizo and I wasn't all these other things. And once we were able to realize that it wasn't medication, it was about meditation and eating right and exercise and helping my body chemical to be able to be grounded and become mainstream. And that's what I want everyone to have the opportunity, so that they can have quality of life, whatever that may be. It may be a simple thing. It may be somebody needing a relationship to be able to go out and greet the mailman without scaring them, which we've done. We helped an 83-year-old woman with her 42-year-old son who has a 6-year-old brain, who's a giant, and he was scaring people. And with a little tweak here and there, he's now like feeding himself and crossing the street and going to the puppet shows. And now whoever absorbs this man is absorbing a Jolly Green Giant and not Frankensex, which is really wonderful. So we want to make sure that people have that support. So my goal is to continue shining a bright light and giving a megaphone to all those that are doing innovative, creative education and programming and getting people the funds they need so that they too can live out their dreams and help others.
That's what I
So
mean. I'm living a full, complete life. Yes, exactly.
yeah, exactly. So in closing, I always like to ask my peeps, I always save a couple minutes for this. Isaac, who's your hero?
My mom and dad.
Why is that?
Because they showed me what true compassion and love is like. I mean, they just had their 59th anniversary last week.
Oh, congratulations.
Yeah, and they also we got a chance to see both the United States and Europe, living both sides of the Atlantic Ocean. They taught me the great lessons of life on how to treat people and how to be treated, and just being a man of conscience. And they're the ones that really taught me to be the kind of man that I've grown into being. So yeah, they are my heroes.
Oh, that is awesome. And so what do you want to be when you grow up?
I don't know if I'm going to grow up. So, yeah. So I just continue on just absorbing life and trying to have as much fun as possible. And I love doing what I do for a living. So I mean, acting and voiceovers is wonderful. And then also travel. That's why I want to continue to travel, see the world, and enjoy making characters come to life. That's what I like to do.
Oh, awesome. Well, one of these days I'm going to be sitting on a beach next to you, having one of those fancy umbrella drinks.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Isaac. Now, Ayla, your turn. Who is your hero, sweetheart?
Who's my hero? You're my hero, Robin.
You just want to make me mess up my makeup.
You're my hero because no matter the challenges of life, you never give up. You never give up on the people who need you. And to me, that is true heroism.
Ayla, thank you so much for saying that, because you know what I say, so I should say it now, right? So I'm always telling people, no matter the challenge, you too can be a big hero. So continue shining brightly so others may have a lighted path. And darlings, Isaac, Ayla, you're both on fire. You're amazing. You have the most bright auras. You have such a loving light. And I want everyone to know how wonderful you guys are, that everybody has an opportunity to have their own, their own personal heroes, their own personal, supporters and advocates. And you guys are my pack. So when people say, well, like, oh, so who are your friends? I'm new in town and whatever. I'm like, well, my friends don't live close by. They're just a hop, skip, and a jump away. But one phone call and I know they'll be there. And look, you're here for me.
Mm-hmm.
Always.
So thanks, guys, so much. And from Brilliance on the Spectrum, continue shining brightly so others may have a lighted path.